City of Stevens Point Historic Preservation Design Review Commission meeting, recorded July 18, 2019.
Call to order July 18th, 2019, Historic Preservation Design Review Commission. Request Ada Sanders for amendment to the facade improvement.
First of all, thank you guys for being able to attend this special meeting. I've got a short presentation that we'll try to get through relatively quickly here, and then both the contractor as well as the applicant and owner of the building are here to answer questions and provide some more information. With that being said, this project was a facade grant approval project to do some painting, new windows, and some other miscellaneous work on the facade. As the project started and the sign was removed, there were a number of different things that were found to be in disrepair. And so this request is to extend the facade grant to include some additional improvements to the building, as well as extend the facade grant funds and the city participation for those different improvements. So the applicant has made basically three requests. The screen above shows the original approval, the facade amount, and then the items that were approved in the original facade. So about $15,000 was awarded on a $38,000 project. You'll see an updated list at the end of the table with the updated or requested items. Basically, the applicant is requesting that the floor be painted at the front entrance. It's been painted in the past and it chips and peels, so they would install a little bit better paint. The second is there are really two options actually. I'm sorry, we haven't got to the options yet. The second thing is to repaint and replace some hardware for the awning. As they took down the fabric on the awning, a lot of the bracing and the metal is showing some signs of deterioration. So one of the improvements is to repair some of those brackets and bracing and apply some coating to that metal to make it last longer and to be able to operate that awning when the new fabric is installed. The third request includes two options and includes the area behind the sign. Behind the sign, when the sign was taken down, it exposed some vitrolite glass that was common in downtown, and I've handed out a picture of that glass. Many pieces were broken and shattered or missing, as you can see there, and that glass exists on the bottom of the storefront, but to recreate that exact same glass would be difficult. So option one includes installing new glass that would expand that entire area. It would be a black glass that the contractor can describe a little bit further than I can. But basically it would mimic what's there now with new pieces, and they would also shore up some of the backing behind that glass. So it essentially, when finished, will look very similar to what it looks like now. Option two is a little bit more intense, and that includes the installation of transom windows in that area, as well as some demo and refinishing work on the interior, so those transoms wouldn't necessarily be fake transom windows. They would actually provide light into the establishment. This is a little bit more costly improvement, but I think it's probably a little bit more historically accurate. I did try to dig up some historic photos and was unable to do so. There was a building that I think stood here prior. I don't know if it was burned down, but it was much smaller next to the Fox Theater here. So I certainly found historic photos of those, but none of this building in particular. I'm sure there are photos that exist. I could not find any though. Again, in summary, this is the concrete floor area proposed to be repainted. This is the building with the sign attached to it. Some close-ups of that. The photo that I passed out showing the glass, the broken parts of it. Just a zoomed in photo shot here of that. In the middle bracket for the awning, as you can see, the rollers and some of the other components are in pretty rough shape, and so a portion of the improvements would be to fix those up. Again, here is the project with the glass removed. Again, the glass was going to be removed anyways because of the deteriorated state, but you can see the backing here behind the glass, and obviously there's an area further back that had some more glass in it, but a lot of that glass has been shattered and cannot be reused. Another picture further back of them installing the windows yesterday. And then an interior shot of what it would look like, or what it looks like now. Obviously that area would be opened up and there would be light coming through if the transom windows were installed in that area. It would also allow for maybe a display area for artwork or for vinyl graphics for signage as well. This is just a sheet showing the glass. This was included within the packet, the proposed glass that would replace the vitrolite if that option is pursued. And then this is an updated bid and cost sheet. Alternate 1, 2, and 3 were provided in the packet. The new alternatives were not 4 and 5 that are listed here. They include, again, the improvement for the transom windows, which is, again, significantly increases the cost from alternate 3, as well as alternate 5 that would also involve repairing or demoing and refinishing the interior of the space. In review, staff would recommend denying the request to fund the painting of the first floor entrance, given this is not part of the overall facade, but we certainly would recommend approving that painting of that concrete floor, but not necessarily funding that activity. The awning and bracket repair improvement, I think that old awning certainly plays a crucial role in the historic character of the building. They've already got a quote and a bid for replacing that fabric. Thus, I would recommend approving both the design as well as the facade grant funds to repair that bracket and any other components for that awning. And I would also note that I would recommend giving staff the authority to approve a potential increase in the cost of the awning because that bid was received by Wausau Canvas last year. I would certainly think that it's probably gone up, that bid, so I would recommend that staff, if the applicant provides a new bid from Wausau Canvas, that we could approve that as part of this amendment to the project for those increased costs. Lastly, I would recommend approving both options. I don't know if the applicant has identified which option they would pursue, but essentially, again, option 1 for the transom area would include the installation of the black glass. Option 2 would be the installation of the transom windows and the interior work as previously described. I think I would lean more towards option 2 because I would guess that storefront previously had either taller first floor windows or had some sort of first floor storefront with transoms above like many other businesses do in downtown, and I think that would be likely more historically accurate to the original design. However, I certainly do understand the increased costs, and because this project was approved with maintaining that black glass, I would also recommend approving option 1. Lastly, the final slide up there shows the difference in total cost as well as what we would participate with. Again, the max grant award is $30,000. Right now, we've got a grant for $15,000 with items 7 and 8 added, which would be option 1, as well as the paint hardware for the awning. We're at about $17,343. With option 2, the transom windows and the interior work, we're at about $20,500. Certainly, I think it's well worth to participate with these funds to fix those areas because I certainly think they add to the historic character of the building. and again, would recommend approval of those items.
Okay. I see you brought something for show and tell there.
Well, I didn't know if everyone here was familiar with this at all, but this was the leaded glass that was actually originally above the window. And while some of it's falling out, there's a lot more of it up there that's kind of in this condition. So I cleaned up these 3 panels to just kind of give you an idea of what it was. We were hoping originally to find this all intact, and we thought it would just be, so nice to go back to the really historical.
Was that part of the original,
This would have
part
been
of the original
original.
transom, or?
This would have been an original transom above the showcase area or whatever, and this right here happens to be folded over. They just pushed it inside, and it's all laying in there in this condition right now. So that would have been what would have, been up there. There was no wood framework that I could find that would show how this was framed in the opening. In my proposal, to go with the wood, we would have 3 panels of glass with wood frames, sash like a direct set sash, and a wood frame around there, and there's a lot of costs with just manufacturing. And there, I do have on there the deduct if we went to an aluminum frame like other storefronts are, just the aluminum framework, and that was in white so that it could be painted. A regular anodized or aluminum can't be, but the white is the white painted framework that could be painted to match the color of the windows above it. They have a 2-inch frame around everything and divide it into 3 lights across there. So if that was the way that we were to go with that decreased that cost by $4,300. So that brings it right down about where the cost of using this that black spandrel glass was. What I did is I had on there, I separated the inside finishes because I didn't know if that would be part of anything, because it's really not it's part of the facade, it's part of the interior, which would be repainting the metal ceilings and putting a plywood top over their display areas so that they could set stuff up there and things, and I didn't know if that would be something that would include it. That's why I have the 2 separate costs in here. The new window would be, it'd be a clear low E, something that would be protective to their artwork and stuff that they've got in there. It'd be a 1-inch insulated that would be going in there. And then we had talked about as far as for signage thing, because they just have that big sign that was applied to the front of the building, and what this would do is if there was glass up there, that would be the vinyl, that's supplied with their lettering and logo and things would be on the center panel, behind the glass for their sign rather than what they had on applied to the outside.
So this would be a single piece of Enzo glass covering that old transom area?
It'd be 3 panels because we're 19 feet.
3?
Right,
Okay.
so we'd, above each of the windows and then above the entrance, so we'd have 3 panels there.
And doing that doesn't affect the mounting of the awning?
No, this is above the awning. At the awning, there's a shield, it's shielded with that gold-colored aluminum stuff, and this would come right down on top of that and be sealed on there. So.
Was there any thought of trying to replace that? Or
It's-
just
Can
keep
you
it-
even use lead anymore?
You could have it done, but you're thousands and thousands of dollars to try and put something like that
Well, I know that there's
together. But
several
it'd be
good glass
beautiful if you
artists
could.
around.
You know, I would salvage this, and even if they wanted to, I seen there was broken pieces too. It'd be nice if you could just apply it to a regular glass to get that look, you know, but I don't know how you would go about that, and, but.
So was this the 38 inches?
It would have been
It would have
38
been-
inches tall.
So there's
across the
quite a
front.
bit up there.
Yeah, and it's just kind of all folded over in a mess. They just, you know, pushed it in and left it fall where it went.
Yeah.
Anybody else have some questions?
Yeah, I do. I'm Mary McComb. I don't know if everybody here knows me. Am I an alternate member? I don't know what I am. Anyhow, I'm on this committee.
here.
I'm here. And I have a question about not covering, to me, the entrance floor, especially when you look at the pictures, that floor is part of the facade, and I don't understand. To me, it's part of the facade, even though it's not like this, and I don't see why that would not be covered in the facade grant.
I think that we've had a lot of discussion on issues that kind of relate to this, which have been seen as maintenance issues as opposed to renovation issues, and I don't know if that's what staff's thought was on it, but that's kind of my thought. This is a maintenance issue that if had been kept up on every couple of years, you repaint it, it's a minimal task, but now it's pretty deteriorated, so I think that's kind of been the discussion in the past.
Yeah, they've been painting it at least twice a year, I think.
Yeah.
It gets, and it's there, from my understanding, they're using cement paint, but this would
There's,
be.
what has happened there is you can see where it's kind of chipped apart in front, and there's still the nails from the tack strip. It was carpeted at one time, and a tack strip, you know, fastened down to the concrete. And what we've got in there, and again, nothing is sticking, and they're trying to go over what's there, because who's doing it isn't preparing the surface right. And to prepare it, we would grind all of that off and things, and then it would have an epoxy, a 3-part epoxy that goes on there. So it's different than just what they were doing, and that's probably why the proposal looks looks quite high. But there, it doesn't pay to keep painting something. It's just going to continue to flake off unless you prep it right and then use the right product on there. And that's what's just in our proposal. And again, whether it's something that should be included or not, that I don't know. They asked me for a price, and that's, you know, based on what I see to do it and do it right, that's what I base that on.
I'll interject and just state, you know, for an example, in the past, when Scott Goulan with Goose received a facade grant for the rear of his building, you know, we didn't necessarily participate with any of the kind of beer garden area. We certainly did with the steps going up to the building that were attached to the building, the windows in the back, the tuck pointing and painting in the back of the building. But because that, you know, that beer garden area was separate, it's outside, it serves as like a patio, we did not participate in that. Now, this obviously is an entranceway that's certainly, you know, probably borderlined, could be argued that it's part of the building because it's part of the entrance. You know, if the commission feels like they would like to fund it, I think we would be okay. But I think I would probably just recommend not to stay in line with some of the previous approvals that we've reviewed.
Now, the sign is going to, if you did the transom windows, then you're talking about putting the sign inside of the windows?
Right, it'd be something like you see on windows where it's just applied. Some of them are applied outside or inside. It's the vinyl that goes on there, and they can either look etched or it can just be colored lettering or whatever they would do, but it would be
Of not
mounted
the-
right on the glass rather than a
Okay.
separate sign. that
You aren't
would
going
go
to take this sign and just put it inside, so it's
on. No,
a whole
this
new
would be,
signage.
this would be
Okay.
vinyl lettering that goes right onto the glass.
They inherited this sign from the last tenant and just turned it over. Just
got ice
been
cream
kind of
just-
using it.
Must
Yeah,
have
the
been ice
ice
cream
cream.
shop before, because that's what's on the opposite side of it.
If I may comment again, if this body takes action, I would recommend identifying as the contractor did, the approval for either wood or some sort of aluminum framing. I will note that aluminum framing has been approved on other facilities in downtown. That dark anodized bronze is very popular and has been approved on other facilities. So you'll want to clearly state that in the motion, whether it's, either or, aluminum and or wood, or, giving the chairperson and the designated agent the ability to approve one or the other, and the colors related to those, as well as the facade dollars related to those.
Is there a decent source for like vinyl trim, brick mold?
Any restorations we do, we end up using the Spanish cedar, the wood and things. The vinyl is going to move, you're going to have cracks in it, you're going to have caulk in it, and it's just upkeep, and then it's,
Okay.
so most of what we do is all in wood. There's a lot of vinyl windows, residential, for residential. You don't see it much in commercial. Even when we've done other storefronts, we've used, like from Kobe and Kobe, their wood units that are painted and things. So I've done a lot of work in Wausau on the Main Street, buildings that they've got there, and we've got a lot of that. It's wood painted, and vinyl, there's no way vinyl would work on here. The aluminum, I think, is a good option over wood, based on that you got the aluminum framework below, and the wood, again, you're making a whole wood frame, and then you're making a sash and putting the glass in the sash. The aluminum is going to give more light area, where if we build a frame and build wood, we're going to decrease that. We'll probably be like this much around the sides versus the other amount. And as I look at it, we're separate from you can see where the windows are up above, but the way everything else is down below. Now, that could be Ada chose what was it, a gloss black for the columns and
glossy
things.
black.
So with the columns being like that, the lintel that's underneath the brick and things, we were looking at white to paint up to match above, but the other thing is to go with a black aluminum that goes with, that fits in with the rest of what's there. I did on my, from Rib Mountain Glass, it says, please note we cannot obtain any gold-colored framing metal, because I'd asked about that, what that was going to be. He says, boy, I know that's going to be expensive, and he was checking, and he says that, yeah, you can't get that. So.
What did we approve for trim on the windows above?
They're a
I'm
creamish
just
type
thinking in
color. They're
terms
wood,
of
so they're
matching.
painted.
Painted wood
Yeah.
is,
It's Spanish cedar, which I learned about from Mike, which I don't know how many of you know about it. I sure didn't. It doesn't rot.
We use it because we know it's not going to rot, and you just can't get decent pine and things anymore that's clear and is good. Everything's finger jointed, and then those come apart and things, and after a few years you see that, where with the Spanish cedar we can get that in a lot of different thicknesses, and it's all clear, no knots, and it does not rot. It's a mahogany, it's a type of mahogany that comes from Africa, So it's not Spanish and it's not cedar, but that's what it's called, and it's been called that for hundreds of years, you know. But, so it is rot resistant, and that's why we use it on any of our restorations.
Well, I was just down in this town this morning, and the windows look very nice. Looks like
Thank you.
you've been very careful with the work that you've done that I saw, so I was impressed.
This firm does the most careful work of anyone I have ever seen. And I hear reports from other places that I go about Mike's firm and the work that they do. So lots of references. I'm very happy. And they did all the work, if you remember, on the back of the building 10 years ago, when that all had to be done, before the Q people moved in.
Okay.
I do have one more comment. With regards to the interior work, I feel as though that it could be funded as part of the exterior facade. In most cases, if somebody puts in a new storefront, they're going to be doing, you know, the framing behind the storefront and any other work, matching the floors and stuff, and that's something we've funded in the past. So in this case, if transom windows are going in, it's my feeling that it could be part of the facade grant, that work on the interior to expose that area, allow the light into the inside of the facility, and be part of that external work that's done.
I agree, it's one project.
Correct.
And it, interior's tied in a way we don't see very often.
And then we could tie in the entranceway floor.
Okay, anybody?
I'd make a motion to accept staff recommendations. I think you're giving them some options. Is that correct?
Right, so there's the two options that I would recommend approving. Again, strongly recommending the transom option,
Yep.
and then also recommending either wood windows for those transom windows or the aluminum option. And then, you know, one added condition would be that the chairperson and designated agent would have the authority to approve, you know, minor amendments to any of these project activities and/or associated costs, as well as a condition to approve any increased costs in the awning fabric, because that bid is expired as it was obtained last year. And I would think, again, that it would probably go up, so to include those costs. And then I think that's probably it.
Yeah. With including some of the costs on the interior work,
Yes.
and I guess I'll stand corrected in terms of the doorway painting, since you're going to do it the right way. I'm not just going to put some paint on it, which was my misperception. I would go, say we should fund that also.
Okay.
Any additional questions, comments, anyone?
That would make the Q people extremely happy.
All in favor,
And
say
that
aye.
will last a long
Wait,
time.
do we have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Oh, okay, sorry about that. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Thank you.
Good,
Thank you.
good work.
We hope for the transom windows, and especially since we're funding the inside also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Excited to see it.
very much.
All right. We are
We're
adjourned.
going to have a
Videos of these meetings are available for viewing on the city's website, stevenspoint.com/videos.